There's a place most people never see. A place hidden not in the world, but within the world layered, just behind our everyday thoughts. Some call it the subconscious. Others call it intuition. But the one person who discovered it simply called it the Garden of Echoes. And this person's name was Arin. Now, Arin wasn't a spiritual seeker, or a sage, or even someone particularly mindful. He was just tired in that deep, bone-heavy way that a full night's sleep never seems to fix. His life looked fine on the outside. He had a stable job, kind friends, and his days passed quietly and predictably, just the way they were supposed to. But on the inside, something was pulling at him, a constant dull ache he couldn't name. He felt as if a part of him had gone missing, and he had no idea where to even begin looking. That's when the dream began. It started as a faint sound, the soft hush of leaves shifting in a breeze he couldn't feel. When he opened his eyes, he wasn't in his bedroom anymore. He was standing at the entrance to a walled garden, its ancient stone draped in vines, glowing faintly with a mysterious silver hue. A gentle pull, a sense of curiosity, drew him forward. He stepped through the archway. Inside, the air shimmered with a palpable warmth. Flowers glowed in colors that didn't exist in the waking world. Hues of impossible blues and radiant golds. Pools of water dotted the landscape, but they didn't reflect the sky. Instead, they showed fragments of memory moments from Arin's life drifting across the surface like old film reels. This place felt alive, as if it knew him intimately. Then he heard it a whisper, barely above the sound of the breeze. "Welcome, Arin." He spun around, his heart jumping, but no one was there. Only a tall, ancient tree, its trunk twisted and beautiful, silvered like moonlight. At its base lay a simple stone basin filled with clear water. The whisper came again, not from the tree, not from the wind, but from everywhere at once, seeming to resonate from the very air he breathed. "This garden grows from what you carry inside." Arin felt a tremor of recognition, a jolt of understanding that went deeper than words. This garden was his. Every flower, every vine, every shimmer of light was grown from his own emotions, his memories, his hidden fears. It was a map of his inner world. He took a breath and walked deeper in. His first stop was a cluster of pale blue flowers. As he reached out and touched one delicate petal, it unfurled, revealing an image inside its glowing center. He saw himself as a child laughing, running barefoot through a sun-drenched field. The memory washed over him with a forgotten warmth, a pure, unburdened joy. But beneath that warmth, a sharp pang of sadness echoed. The whisper returned, gentle but clear. "You abandoned parts of yourself to become who you thought you needed to be." Arin felt his throat tighten. He knew it was true. He'd traded his boundless imagination for cold responsibility. He'd swapped spontaneous joy for calculated efficiency. He wasn't angry about it. He just hadn't realized the true cost, hadn't acknowledged what he'd lost along the way. The flower closed, releasing a soft breath of light that sank into his chest, filling a space he didn't know was empty. He walked on until he found a patch of gnarled, thorned vines, twisting across the ground like dark serpents. Between the sharp thorns, he saw shadows flicker, moments he didn't want to revisit. Heated arguments, deep regrets, things he had said too quickly, and perhaps worse, things he didn't say at all. He instinctively took a step back, a familiar urge to flee rising within him. But the whisper urged gently, "Your shadows do not seek to harm you. They seek to be understood." Hesitantly, Arin knelt, reaching out and touching one of the thorns. It pricked him not painfully, but sharply enough to make him feel intensely present, grounded in the moment. The vines trembled. A figure began to form from the coalescing shadows. It was his own reflection, but heavier, its eyes filled with a deep, familiar worry. "You try to push me away," the shadow, Arin said, its voice his own but laced with sorrow. "But I'm the part of you that warns, that protects, that remembers." Arin swallowed hard. He'd spent years running from these uncomfortable emotions, disappointment, fear, insecurity, pretending they didn't exist, pushing them down into the darkness. But here, in this garden, he couldn't hide from himself. "I'm sorry," Arin whispered, the words feeling foreign and yet profoundly right. "I didn't know you were trying to help." The shadow figure nodded once, a gesture of quiet acceptance, then dissolved into a soft, warm smoke that curled into Arin's chest, feeling like a breath he'd been holding for years. As the smoke settled within him, the sharp vines receded into the earth. The path ahead cleared. At the heart of the garden stood the silver tree again, but now there was something new. A seat was carved into its massive roots, glowing faintly with an inviting light. The basin of water at its base rippled as Arin approached, as if in greeting. "Sit," the whisper said, now sounding closer, more familiar. "And see yourself clearly." Arin lowered himself into the seat. It felt as if it had been made just for him. The tree's branches bent gently, as if sheltering him in a protective embrace. The water in the basin rose, not splashing or spilling, but lifting in a perfect, shimmering sphere of liquid light. Inside it, he saw himself. Not as he was in his daily life, not as he pretended to be for others, but as he could be if he stopped running from his emotions and learned to listen to them instead. He saw strength where he had always perceived weakness. He saw resilience in the places he believed were broken. He saw incredible potential woven into the very parts of himself he had ignored and suppressed for so long. He reached a hand toward the sphere of water, and for the first time, he heard the whisper not as a voice outside him, but as his own inner voice, calm, steady, and filled with compassion. "You came here looking for what you lost," it said, but nothing was ever missing. It was only buried, only waiting to be found. The water sank back into the basin. The trees' leaves shimmered with renewed life, and the entire garden began to glow, no longer dim or uncertain, but vibrant and intensely alive, pulsing with color and energy. Arin blinked and found himself back in his room. Early morning light spilled across the floor, painting the world in soft, hopeful colors. The dream lingered like a scent in the air, a vivid memory that felt more real than a dream. He felt different, not perfect, not suddenly enlightened, but connected to something inside him he hadn't touched in years. Over the next days, Arin noticed small but significant shifts. He started to listen to his emotions instead of immediately dismissing them. He gave space to feelings he previously avoided, allowing himself to feel sadness or fear without judgment. He started acting with more intention, less on autopilot, and slowly, gently, he realized the profound truth. The Garden of Echoes wasn't a place he visited just once in a dream. It was a living inner world, one that grew as he grew, healed as he healed, and blossomed each time he chose honesty over avoidance. He didn't need to return in a dream. He carried it with him. He always had, and he always would, because the garden was simply his inner self, finally being heard. And so, if you ever feel that quiet pull inside you, an unexplained ache, a faint whisper, a persistent question you can't quite articulate, maybe it's your own garden calling you back. Not to escape the world, but to better understand the world within you. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more journeys into the heart and mind. See you next time.